My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast.
And it's Bakeoff Miss Eve.
It's Bakeoff Miss Eve. It's the most wonderful time of the year, or in this case, in the 2 years.
We've been stringing up our oven mitts by the chimney and...
I know.
You know, making our mini hordes of butter.
And I look forward to tomorrow night when we can go, he's been! He's been! This is, for Bakeoff fans, a really exciting time of the year.
Oh, and it's a long time coming.
It's a long time coming. But what we decided we're actually going to do tonight is we've had a bunch of people who joined us for MasterChef.
Yes.
We've had a bunch of people who have joined us for Canadian Bake-Off. We've had a bunch of people who have randomly downloaded this accidentally because they were looking for something on Washing Up.
And now they can't erase it from their podcast
and they
app, and it's the only thing they can listen to.
Yeah, it's the only podcast. So what we thought we might actually do tonight was a little bit of the beginner's guide to BakeoffAU.
Indeed.
Right, because I think that the thing you need to understand about Bake-Off Australia is it is a different show to the British Bake-Off.
It is. It still has at its heart the key components of Bake-Off and that soul, you know, but it's got its own vibe, its own little joie de vivre.
Oh, look at you, like the queen of accents.
Oh, yes.
So now we're going to go through what it is that makes Bake-Off, you know, Australia different, what to expect, some of the things to keep your eyes open for.
Yeah, and a little bit of background on the hosts and on the judges as well.
Exactly.
Those who do not know.
And on just the format and the way everything works. So let's get into it right now. And I've just got some base notes and we're just going to talk off them. And literally I've got points.
Okay.
There is nothing written under our points. And the first thing that I think is important to deal with in the beginner's guide is the people. Now, when we're talking about people, we're talking about
our Mel
and our Claire.
Yes, and our Mel and our Claire are dear to Australia's hearts. You know, our Claire first graced the screens that I saw her on was Good News Week.
Yep, pretty much same thing.
Back in the 90s, and Rove.
And Rove. No, that was Corinne Grant.
Oh my God.
It's all good. It's all good, Claire.
Sorry, Claire.
It's all good, Claire. I'm
not saying you're an interchangeable Australian comedian. No.
Funny you should say that, because I was going to say that I first saw our Mel on the midday show. No.
Actually,
no. So our Mel,
I didn't first see our Mel. I first heard our Mel.
Yes, you would
calling into Triple J.
You would have first heard Mel there. So Mel is Mel Buttle, obviously, and Claire is Claire Hooper, and
Indeed.
you know. We've said a lot when we talk about different versions of the show, people who have started listening to this series of Canadian, for example, we've said the hosts make the show.
Absolutely.
And they set the tone for the show. What you need in hosts is you need people who are funny.
Yep.
You need people who are somewhat knowledgeable. You need people who take really good advice on board, and you need people who interact brilliantly with other people.
Yeah, they're able to add to the energy. They know how to work with the energy in the room, whether to diffuse tension or to perk up morale or just to know when to piss take someone.
Yeah,
you know?
they know where the humour is. They know when to be funny. They know when to be sympathetic, and they're genuine with it.
Yeah, they don't impose themselves on a situation. I mean, they might impose themselves on a few biscuits, but
that's important. And we've seen that versions of the show that are good do that really well.
Absolutely.
Versions of the show that are not necessarily great, Kiwi Bake-Off, doesn't do that very well at all, and the hosts try to become the focal point. Mel and Claire are brilliant at being great hosts and good at diffusing situations, and at the same time not making themselves the centrepiece.
Exactly. Their opening sketches are hilarious 99.9% of the time. Actually, I think 100%. That's 100%.
I've never seen them miss. The Free From week remains the greatest of all time.
Claire and her purple scarf.
And Mel trying really hard to hold a straight face. So they are your window in. They are the every person. They are the ones when the bakers turn around and go, I don't quite know how to bake this, go, me neither. What exactly would you like me to do? And if you check out, for example, on social media today, our Mel was off in Perth
with our Robert.
And they were at the Perth Royal Show, and they were making things. Mischief, no doubt, knowing those two. And so Robert was talking Mel through some demonstrations. Knowing Robert the way I do, that would have been fun.
Yes.
And they are our window in, but they are only the window to our judges.
Absolutely.
And we'll start with the king of the shed. and you'll notice we call it the shed. We'll talk about
the man of lamb.
The man of lamb.
And vests.
Yes, the man of lamb and vests. If you look at his coat of arms, it's simply a vest with a rack of lamb on it. It is Matt Moran of Moran Lamb.
Absolutely.
And also Aria, that little thing.
Just a little restaurant.
That little restaurant, a little upstart.
Just a little franchise,
Fighting against the big boys.
House.
It's fighting against the big boys.
It really is taking the corporations to town.
Yes, exactly. It's so nice to see the little guy doing well.
I know.
He owns a pub. He owns a pub.
Or 6.
I know, he owns a franchise of pubs. Matt Moran, what you're going to see, if you're a MasterChef viewer, you're probably going to think, oh, well, we're going to get something a bit like a George or a Gary. No. You are going to get Matt Moran just being an awesome person.
Yeah, exactly. The same Matt Moran you see hanging out with Anthony Bourdain,
No bullshit.
No.
He's not an arsehole. He will tell you if you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
He won't sit there and say, oh, this is wonderful if it's not. He will tell you straight up if it's crap, but he doesn't do it in a malicious manner with Matt, and that's what I love about him.
Exactly. He's just like, no, that's not good, and it's not as if you've taken a dump on his firstborn, you know what I mean? Like, he's not taking the personal insult to the culinary world. The
thing you will find about Matt Moran that you won't expect to find out about Matt Moran is that he's bloody hilarious. He has this dry sense of humour.
The way he and Maggie bounce off each other. Just the little quips that he throws in here and there, and we'll probably get to one shortly.
We will definitely get to one shortly, because we now need to talk about the other half of the dynamic duo.
Just named a legend at the Australian Food and Wine.
We need to talk about
thingy-mabobbies.
The Queen of the Shed. We need to talk about
the Empress of
Stately Beer Manor.
Stately Beer Manor, instead.
Dame Maggie Beer. Moment of reverence.
Dame?
No, in our mind she is.
Oh yeah, she's the dame. Yeah, that's right.
She has Stately Beer Manor.
There ain't nothing but a dame.
So Maggie Beer.
Pouring butter in the mansion.
We'll get to that. So Maggie Beer.
Yes.
Obviously, MasterChef audience are going, you don't need to tell us who Maggie Beer is. We know. And everyone else is going, you don't need to tell us who Maggie Beer is. I've paid far too much for her quince paste and far too much for her ice cream.
But not enough for her pate, because that stuff's good.
Yeah, you love her pate. I did actually have.
Is actually good.
I did actually have the Maggie Beer apple crumble ice cream the other week.
Yes, you did.
It was really fucking good.
What a
ridiculous levels of expensive, but really good.
But she doesn't own it now, does she?
No, she sold it. She sold it because she wants to spend her time cultivating the verjuice fields.
And also improving the food in aged care facilities.
Exactly.
Because that's the kind of awesome woman she is. So she was a pioneer back in the day, wasn't she, in the Australian food landscape? Which
she was indeed.
Australia's come a long way. Back in the 60s and 70s, Australia's food landscape was as barren as a Chico roll in a solitary takeaway bain-marie. There were literally ads introducing people to Cup of Chino.
Oh, I love that so much. I still love that clip. It's my favourite clip of Australian food ever.
And, the highlight of multicultural food was the Chinese takeaway.
With the Australian menu.
With the Australian menu. You can have your garlic king prawns with a side of bloody veg and steak, but also pizza.
Exactly, pizza, that horrible food from the continent.
Oh.
Those Itais. Those Itais. Anyway.
In their crazy bread-based food.
So we've talked a lot, when we've done the MasterChef podcast, we've talked a lot about the fact that MasterChef has changed the landscape of Australian food. And it has.
Yeah.
But
before MasterChef.
There are positives and there are negatives with MasterChef. And a lot of the positives of MasterChef are the food culture and the broad food culture.
And the knowledge and the appreciation for where your food comes from.
Exactly. The negatives about MasterChef have been a bit of the attitude and a bit of the way that judging is handled, the way that the show is handled, and the way that it's all set up to be. I don't want to use the word phony because it's not phony, but it doesn't feel as genuine as it could be.
It's exaggerated.
Yes.
It's taking what is a pretty, or like people with genuine aspirations and authentic passion for food and
putting them in
up to be like...
And putting them in unreal situations.
Exactly. Like it's like the trying to be Takeshi's Castle when it could be really elegant.
You know, in last series of MasterChef, for example, we talked about we talked a lot about things like, you know, the way that one chef is asked to do a complete cover for 40 people, which wouldn't be something you would ever do. And they're like, this is preparing you for the kitchen. You're like, not really.
No.
So what
3-year course at TAFE would prepare you for the kitchen.
And because
this is just good TV.
And because of the nature of MasterChef as well, what you tend to get is competitiveness.
Yeah.
And like not a bitchy competitive, but it feels high stakes.
Yeah.
And it feels like people are trying to win. Bake-Off, one of the things you're going to find if you've never watched Bake-Off before, and Australian Bake-Off in particular, is it doesn't feel like people are out there trying to win.
No.
People are in there just baking and having fun and being helpful. The show style, I like to refer to it as, like, again, it's the antidote to food television.
It's like a little baking commune.
Yes.
So getting back to Maggie Beer, she's appeared on MasterChef, but here in the Bake-Off shed, I feel that she's in her element. It really is that culture of joy and of cooking and of nurturing and sharing sharing an experience that, you know, nurtures one another.
Exactly, and they're very encouraging of each other, and we'll come to that in a moment.
Yes.
The second thing you need to be prepared for, and this is something that MasterChef viewers will go, oh yeah, right. It is probably the highest quality shot food show outside of things like Chef's Table.
Yep.
Like, this is on a lifestyle budget, not on a Netflix budget.
No.
The cinematography of this show is unbelievable.
I mean, kudos to Great British Bake Off, which set a really good tone for Bake Off in general. But Australian Bake Off takes it to another level.
Surpassed it. And like we've spoken to bakers from the British show, for example, and they've said when they've watched Australian, they can't get over the quality of like the way it's shot.
There's a lot of love and care that's taken into every detail. So, for example, it's something I noticed when I was watching Kiwi Bake Off is that no one had taken the time to to even iron a tablecloth. It was just flung on.
Little things.
And you could see that in Australian Bake Off, every detail has been thought about. It's been executed beautifully.
For example, the audience at home spotted last year.
Yeah.
They had all the framed photos of all the bakers on the wall, and as a baker would go home, they moved them. It was, and we could spot it, but it wasn't a big obvious thing. It was just those little details.
Yeah.
It's the way the thing is filmed. Now remember, it's all filmed in one very small area. It's not a big area where the show is filmed. And like with MasterChef, they've got like wherever they go in Australia to sort of film.
Yeah.
What they've got and with Chef's Table, it's wherever they go there. They've got a paddock basically. They've got the grounds of a hospital. Like that's what they've got. And, you know, a shed that they've built on site.
Which you can go walk around. It's the Lady something or other estate down at Concord, just near the Rivendell schools. So
but it's a beautiful site. But it's like, again, the way they've shot it, you would assume it's this jumbo national park, and it's like the wildlife, birds. Spot the birds. All right. If you enjoy bird spotting, this show is the show for you.
It really is a Twitch's paradise. Been spending most
Get out of my
life
head. Living in the Twitch's paradise. Which leads us to the shed itself.
Setting up the hide, wearing lots of camo. I've got my binoculars ready to
go blammo. Anyway, I have to finish it. I can't leave a line hanging. I just can't.
Thank you.
So that takes us to the shed. Now the shed, again, British Bake Off is the tent.
Yes.
Canadian is the pavilion.
Indeed. They might call it the tent, but it's a pavilion.
It's a pavilion. I can't remember what we called Kiwi. The disappointment, I think it was.
That was the pool. It was the cabana.
The cabana, that's right. Disappointment, cabana, same diff. But Australia is the shed. And what I like is that we don't pretend it's not a shed.
No,
we call it the shed. It's a shed.
It's got
but the
corrugated iron.
The shed is fascinating on many levels. Like, it is an amazing structure considering it's built.
Temporary, yep.
Like the benches, it is an immaculate piece of construction.
I
the
love
care that has gone into that thing is incredible.
So much so we based our wedding cake on it.
We actually did. If you've seen our social media, the wedding cake looked exactly like the shed and was made by Monica.
I mean, we're not that crazy. We just got married like 2 bays over.
And replicated
insane.
And replicated the venue to look exactly like the Bakeoff, and had people from Bakeoff there. And, Monica made the cake. But beyond that, it was
just low-key.
And Jeremy made amazing macarons. Anyway, no, the shed is, it's kind of become iconic.
Yeah.
In the same way that the tent is in the UK.
Yep.
And it looks so much more vast than you expect. And when they film it especially, it's not this tiny little shed. It's huge.
It's got space. I think it's because, like, both sides open out.
And the benefit of it too is it's perfect for filming because of the way they've set it up with both sides opening and just the headspace you've got. There is so much space to film in there.
Yep.
It just sets it up beautifully.
Beautiful. Bunting everywhere.
But lots of bunting. Now, this brings us to one of the other things that makes Australian Bake-Off a little bit different. The bakes.
Yes.
Like, they do tend to think outside the box a little bit more. Mm-hmm. They do tend to sort of think a bit broader in terms of what they're going to do.
Well, we were the first to do sfogliatelli, weren't we? I'm pretty sure we were.
We did sfogliatelli, then everyone else did sfogliatelli. We did clafouti.
Oh, suddenly clafoutis are coming out your clafouti everywhere.
There were clafoutis everywhere.
There were clafoutis shooting up people's booty.
We did start the sfogliatelli. That was our fault. We did last year, there was Free From Week.
Yeah.
Which was, where they changed it up. It wasn't free from one thing. First one was free from dairy. Then it was, what was the second one? Free from something. And the third one was free from artificial sugars. And notice that we said artificial sugars because they did make a trifle. And if you think you're making a trifle minus sugar, not really. But yeah, that was a bit different.
And all of this is done with lots of nods and homage paid to the Great British Bake Off. The fact that bunting carries over to the shed, and there are bakes that come through that are classics on Great British Bake Off, like sorry, everyone. It's been a really long day.
We've had a Baked Alaska a few times. That's happened.
Bomb Alaska,
yeah. We've had, again, they've done...
Pies.
The pies.
Pies.
British Week's always fascinating. I mean, some British Weeks are better than others. We've talked about that before. Some British Weeks are much better than others. British Week is always it's one of the barometers I use in terms of what style of British bakes did they go with.
Yeah.
It's been interesting because I think there's been some years where Australians done British Week better than the Brits.
I mean, just look at Dave and his British accent. I mean, as queen of the accents, I found that one to be quite flawless. His royal wave.
He had British flags. He made his cake look like the Union Jack. It was a little too much, just a little too much.
Never too much.
But that also brings us to things like the bakers. And let's face it, this show's about the bakers.
It is, and all of this, whether it is the judges, the hosts, the scenery, how it's shot, it's all there as a framework to showcase the bakers that come in to share their journey.
And we've had, and again, so we're up to now... Obviously, we don't count the Channel 9 series.
That doesn't exist.
That's not a thing. It doesn't exist. We start from the Foxtel series only.
Yeah.
So we've got a really interesting, again, there's a proud tradition for people to follow here. So you've got, obviously, the first year, Sian.
Yes.
So Sian Redgrave wins. Season 2, Olivia.
Oh, yes, Miss Olivia.
Which you picked from the start.
Well, look, I just had my spidey senses tingling that year. It was Olivia, then it was Elena. It's just like...
You had a big year that year. Your food year was great.
Could I have picked, the lotto numbers, which might have been helpful?
Would have been useful.
But here I am picking winners of cooking shows.
And then last season, of course, we followed that up with Claudia.
Now, she was a gem. But you know what? I still picked her. When we were lucky enough to go to the grand final... And I went over to the shed to have my sticky beak when I first got there, see how everything's playing out. And there was Barb, she's going hammer and tongs at a nougat wall. And there was Dave who was faffing about, but there was Claudia in this bubble of serenity.
She was calm.
She was calm. I'm not saying Dave wasn't good at what he was doing. I was looking, going, oh, that's really cool. But she was calm and she was together. I'm like, that's our winner right there.
Well, it was really that whole experience, and we're not talking out of turn here because this is stuff we talked about before.
Yeah.
First of all, you've never lived until you've got to eat a Bake-Off finale part of one of those bakes.
Yeah.
And I dismantled that nougatine wall like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Thanks, Olivia, for smuggling that to me. That was incredible. I actually said that to Barb, and her comment was, I wondered where that wall went. Me. But the other thing is too, like you get an appreciation for these bakers.
Yep, and for the crew who is working their tits off.
It's amazing the way this happens. And like we were lucky enough to be sitting with the year before's bakers, Olivia and Fee and Jeremy and all those people and those wonderful, wonderful people. And they could not have been warmer. They could not have been nicer. And I was experiencing
extreme social anxiety at that time. And, they were very caring, very considerate, and I felt like very well looked after on the day. I mean, I was felt like a bit of a deer in headlights at times, but
getting to meet all of these bakers that we've got to talk to and got to meet, the thing you find out, and we've said this a lot on the show, you can't fake good people.
No, you can't.
It does come across, and the one thing we've found with Bakeoff is that every single one of them, to a person, has been good people.
Absolutely.
And that you see this in the bakers on the show. We've talked a bit about that, and it's not that, like on MasterChef, for example, that they're horrible to each other. They're not. They're genuinely good too.
They're in a different context.
But also the show doesn't focus on it. They did a little bit more of it last year. For example, Bakeoff, the last season's grand final.
Yeah.
Barb's falls to pieces. Claudia finishes her bake, runs over in the grand final to someone she's supposed to be quote-unquote competing against and goes, what can I do? And helps Barb reassemble the end of her bake.
And it's an authentic thing, whereas in MasterChef, it's happened before. They've gone over and helped each other. But the difference is, and I think this is, it comes down to the production, is, as I've said, every single element of the Bakeoff shed is set up to showcase and support the bakers, right? The hosts are there to support the bakers. With the MasterChef, it's set up to be basically a gladiator sport. It's the Colosseum. There are different events put in to test them, to push them to their limits and to
make them break.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cutthroat, and it could be you just have one off day and out you go. And sure, that might happen in the Bakeoff shed, but you've been given every single chance to succeed.
It's not cutthroat though. Like when someone doesn't do very well, everyone's genuinely upset that they haven't done very well. It's not about bringing down others. It's about bringing everybody up.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the things we like about the show. Now,
and more often than not, you're going to watch an episode where there are consistently good bakes. So it's rather than sending the worst, shittiest person home, you're going to see someone, go home because they just may have missed a syrup.
There is a reason why we frequently argue that there should be the first person who goes home should be a member of the crew who's put in there as like a fake person. And we argue this because it's not fair that someone goes home in the first week.
Yeah.
It's just, you just start to get to know them. You can have a slight slip up, you get one minor mistake. Like, for example, Maggie Beer walks over and goes, put lemon in that. And you panic because you're on TV and Maggie Beer has just told you to put, and Maggie Beer has just told you to put lemon in that, and poor Jess just went and collapsed.
Oh, it was Jess.
It was Jess.
Emma.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Jess collapsed in a heap, not because she was a bad baker, but like the pressure of Maggie Beer going, you might want to put some lemon in there.
And she went, oh, mate, yeah.
Maggie,
no, it's half baked. I'll just pull it out and
Maggie told me to put lemon in it. Maggie told me to put lemon in it.
I'm just going to put a lemon in this, yeah?
And when Maggie Beer says do something, you do it. So, again, we felt really bad for her. It's not that she was a horrible baker, and the idea of going home first week, you don't get to see the quality of their bakes.
Yeah.
If you follow Jess, if Jess is baking stuff on Instagram, she's a really good baker.
Yeah.
So the standard is also really high, and it's good to watch people who are good at something being good at that thing.
Yep.
And being consistently good at that thing.
Yeah, and you can tell that they're enjoying an experience of being immersed in baking and all the things that baking
and sharing ideas.
brings.
And they share ideas and they talk about these different ideas. And Olivia talked to us after her grand final
about chick-tortering.
One about the chick-tortering, but two, she talked about the night before the grand final, sitting there with Fee and a couple of other people and Liesl on Instagram, looking through Instagram, going, "What about this? What about this?" to try to come up with her showstopper idea. And there are all these other bakers from the competition, sort of talking to each other and going, "Why don't you try?"
Yeah,
and it's It's really cool.
Building each other up. And it's not to say that that's not done in MasterChef. I think
it's just not shown.
It's not shown, and it's not the culture of the show.
It's really not. I mean, the last, the last series was regarded and was called the nicest show on television. Not what they set out to do. It was just that nice.
Yep.
However, what it's not to be taken away from, is where it does go very similar to British Bake Off, is the level of innuendo
and pun work.
Oh, the pun work is something else. When you've got Mel Buttle and Claire Hooper, they are masters of the pun.
They know how to bring a pun from a bun and get an innuendo from a
crescendo. I got you there. Well done. That's what she said.
I thought clafouti would rhyme with it because that's where my brain's just stuck at clafouti.
Clafouti from Djibouti. Yeah. Anyway, what's more important about the innuendo and puns is look out for the sneaky I don't know what I'm saying Maggie Beer innuendo. So what we keep on mentioning clafouti. We literally just watched what we regard as probably the finest episode from last series, which is the
Batter Week.
So Batter Week involved waffles, which were just incredible. The standard of waffles. Mel getting egged. We also had the crepe cakes, which if you ask Kristie, she'll tell you, I sat here yelling at Robert
to use the second pan
because
didn't listen to you the first time.
Robert has mentioned this many times.
This time.
Robert has mentioned this many times on the podcast, and I've mentioned it every time I bring him up. Everyone else used at least 2 pans. He used 1. That's why he was so slow. But the technical that week
was clafouti.
Now, that meant, first of all, we got lots of jokes from the bakers about suffering from an infection called clafouti.
Yeah.
Is there a cream for clafouti? And the answer was, there was.
It was a walnut cream.
It was a walnut cream. But then, when they got to the judging, Maggie was talking about the balls of clafouti, because they're balls.
The apples.
Yes, the apple balls. That's what I said, the balls of clafouti. And Maggie was talking about, they look all popped up and happy to see you. And everybody lost it to the point where if you actually watch the camera shots, the cameras were shaking. And Matt Moran just deadpans. Goes, yep, Maggie, all about presentation. And Maggie looked around and went, what did I say? She didn't get it.
And it was also the one where Mel Buttle made the joke about, Crepe Cake, also the name of her favourite Radiohead song.
And you can just see Maggie Beer going,
what's a Radiohead?
But the innuendos and the puns, again, Mel and Claire are just so good at setting it up. And the bakers are usually really good at running along.
Particularly like with in the early episodes of last season, Mel and what's his face, he's Max's frogs.
Yes.
Frogs that
I forgot about Max's frogs.
Like boobs. And I can see his face as clear as day. But he made
the vaginas, yes.
The vaginas, essentially. Little labia, macarons. I think they were supposed to be clams.
They were.
But they were pink.
Ended up being, they ended up. And you could just see Mel going, so.
I've witnessed a few of these in my life.
What are these? Yeah, sure they are. And walked off and just didn't have to say it. The innuendo and the pun inside that shed, it is really well done. Now, this brings us to talk about the podcast.
Us.
The
whole reason why you're watching Bakeoff.
The whole reason you're here. Now, I need to explain a few things about this. So you're listening to this and you're going, oh, they're just going to sit there and fillet Bakeoff. No.
We're not even going to felch it.
Not even. Oh, you had to get that in, didn't you? Always have to get that in.
To get a felching in.
So we are really fair when it comes to Bakeoff, right? We do love the thing.
Yep.
But from that love does come, if we think something's shit,
we'll tell you.
We'll tell you it's shit. If we think something's good.
We come from the Matt Moran kind of position.
If we tell you something's shit, we think something's shit, it's because we want it to be better.
Yes.
And we really like it. Now,
we don't hate you, we're just disappointed.
Now, if you listen to the MasterChef show, you'll notice that every now and then a bit of bitterness creeps in.
Snark.
A bit of snark. You won't really get that here.
No.
Not really in Bakeoff.
You can't hate watch Bakeoff. You can't even watch Bakeoff.
Let me clarify. When somebody produces fucking matcha or fucking yuzu.
Yeah, but you hate watch matcha.
Yeah, and that's
You
the point.
hate live matcha. That's the whole thing.
I am living to get it exiled. All right, that's
I don't know what it did to
aim.
you in a past life, but Jesus Christ.
It's not easy being green. So I need to get rid of matcha out of my life. And I've had this conversation with people
How
from...
often is matcha in your life?
Every time Bakeoff's on.
Oh, God.
And it just doesn't go away. What was the first bake in Canadian this year?
Yeah, it was a matcha.
Yeah, exactly. It was matcha. It was fucking matcha.
That
anyway,
was Colin, wasn't it?
It was Colin, and I've chastised him severely.
I bloody love Colin.
Colin's awesome.
I bloody love them all.
We do. So, the podcast. So, a couple of things. So, what's going to happen is, first of all, for those of us who are alongside us for MasterChef, there's a drinking game.
Haha.
Now, the drinking game was started for Bakeoff. Right,
Yes.
that was when I started the drinking game idea, was for Bakeoff, because it's once a week.
And if you notice the format and the font.
The font is the Bakeoff font, and it's Mostra bold. If you're looking for it, Mostra 1 bold is the font you're looking for. That drinking game card is to do one episode. So whereas with MasterChef, it's sort of spread out a bit more because we've got a week to hit everything.
Yeah.
I've got one episode to hit everything on Bakeoff, and you better believe there are some weeks where your liver's not making it out alive. Now,
Particularly when you know what's coming up in a cake week, or you know what's coming up in a bread week, or you know if we're going to get a free from week.
Mel Buttle
Yes.
has suggested to people,
Yes.
if you don't want to drink,
Or you can't drink because you're like 16.
cheesels.
Why are you listening to this podcast? Go out
Felching.
and get a life.
Yeah, but she has suggested
Yes.
cheesels.
Cheezels. Great.
Cheezels are a good alternative.
Or Tim Tam Slam it.
Tim Tam Slams. I like that idea. Tim Tam Slam would work quite well.
Yeah, lick a vulva. I mean, iced Volvo. Lick an iced Volvo.
Oh, God. Oh, so as you can pick as well, it's not safe for work. As I said the other week when I was talking
safe for
about,
vulvas.
as I was talking about the other week, when I was talking about it the other week for Canadian and introducing everyone to Canadian, it's not safe for work. It's not really safe for anywhere.
Not safe for soggy sayos.
Oh no, Kristie will
I
frequently
would
say.
like to know who out there actually Googled it.
I do actually know the answer to that question. There were people. So, to explain to people here listening, because you may not have heard that Canadian episode, we've started Canadian Bake-Off at the same time.
And doing Biscuit Week.
And in Biscuit Week, Kristie mentioned soggy sayos and told everyone to Google it. And the poor Canadians did. So much power in one woman. Anyway, so the drinking game will be a thing. I will get that out during the day beforehand, so on that day. Feel free to play along at home and let us know how that's going.
Yeah.
/ chastise me for making you that drunk. Because
that's full of cheezels.
That's common. The general format of the show, like, again, there's 3 challenges. We whimsy all over the place. There's lots of inappropriate comments, most of them from Kristie.
Yep.
And that's what she does and does brilliantly.
Just what I do. That's what I'm here to do.
If you're expecting
inappropriate
if you're
comments.
expecting a deadly serious blow by blow recap of the absolute base level techniques that you're seeing, what the fuck are you trying? Like, seriously.
Like, why are you here?
Why are you here? We're going to make Simpsons references, The Office jokes, all sorts of random shit through the middle of this. And as you can tell, we're going to swear a lot. Get ready for that. Get ready for that.
Yeah.
We will, I can say this fairly confidently. Actually, I can say this very confidently.
Yes.
We will, over the course of this season,
Yes.
have special guests.
Excellent.
We will. Not might. Will. So they could be from this season.
Could be our dog Leo.
They will definitely be our dog Leo. You heard him at the start of this episode. Some of the cats will be running around.
Random neighbour that we've just kidnapped and brought in.
I hope not. More importantly, you're going to see, apart from people from this season, you might see some old favourite people.
Oh, that'd be nice.
From previous seasons. From other shows.
Yes.
Quite potentially.
Maybe
there's a few things we've got lined up there. Which
The
might
Master
be,
Singer?
No, probably not.
What about The Bachelor?
Outside chance of a bachelor. Actually, we have a contact now.
Do we?
That can get us somebody who might have been in. No, we're not bachelor. We can get someone from Married at First Sight.
Oh, yes. Let's get a maths.
We might be able to get a Married at First Sight person. Who knows?
Who knows?
Probably not. But we're going to have an array of people on. Now, to do that, we will, from time to time, have a third show.
Yes, we will.
So this is something where it may not end up being a regular every week thing. We haven't decided that yet. It'll depend on what we've got for that week.
Yep.
But we're going to do a general sort of look at Bake Off overall because we're doing 2 shows at the moment. So it's good to sit down, maybe have a bit of an unwind, a bit of a relax, put your feet up, get some cheese, get yourself a nice board full of like different
Take
salamis.
your bra off.
Well, yeah, I'll try to take that off, but good luck. And then the idea
Take
is...
your ball support off. I presume they just have
a ball support.
support.
A banana hammock. Is that what you think we all wear? Anyway.
Is there a thing called a banana hammock?
Yeah, they're horrible. It's terrible.
So is it like a box?
No, it's another nickname for
I'm going to have to Google that.
No, oh God, she's Googling banana hammocks. Oh shit. It's basically the ridiculous thong type thing.
Oh, like a
men wear to,
mankini.
that men wear to the beach is referred to as a banana hammock. It's usually worn by men over 60 who have no right to be wearing that.
No, they can wear whatever the fuck they want.
And to be fair, it stops them from tripping over. Yeah. Anyway, more important, you've just got that. So...
Keep going.
She's gone. I finally cracked her out for a change. So we're going to have a wide array of guests.
Yes.
Who are going to be on over the course of this series. I'm really looking forward to that. The bonus show will probably have an interview with someone. In most weeks. It could be someone on the show. It could be someone from another show.
Be our cat.
Could be our cat if we really want to do that one. Birds are dumb. It could be that. We'll let you know ahead of time on what's happening with that extra show there. But it just gives us a chance to have a sit down and a bit of a chat without having to worry about interviewing people and worrying about, getting them to have to comment on the show. And it gives us time to talk about whatever the bloody hell we want.
Yes,
and
to think of the highlights, look who's doing well, talk about the classic kind of moments maybe from this series that may lead up to something else at the
Exactly.
end.
Now, if you've heard, for example, our MasterChef shows, you'll know we've done that a little bit. And especially the one that I like going back to is our chat with Elena Duggan last year before the grand final.
Yes.
Which was good. It was a wide-ranging chat. It wasn't just about the MasterChef grand final. And we had a lot of positive feedback to it. So we're going to try a bit more of that this year too.
Yes.
But if we do it in a separate show, it means it doesn't get in the way of us being stupid and saying felching.
Exactly.
And we don't want to splatter other people with our filth.
Or our felching.
We want to give you the option.
Yeah.
Now, all of...
Optional felching. We're all about that.
And this leads up, of course...
Consensual, mutual...
Oh, no. So this will lead up to Baking's
Night of
Nights.
Yes.
The Virgie Awards.
Oh, the most prestigious awards in television and baking.
They are the most prestigious awards. We give these out at the conclusion of the series.
Absolutely.
This year, the conclusion of the series, there will be 2 shows being awarded.
Yes.
Because Canadian will finish at the same time. Now, I know that British is also on, but it's not on in Australia at the same time. And to be honest with you, we can't let the Virgies go that far. The committee will not allow it.
No.
So, we will be doing a joint Virgies between Australian and Canadian.
Trans-Pacific, transcontinental, transatlantic.
Commonwealth Virgies.
Translation.
It's a Commonwealth Virgies. The nice country Virgies.
Transparent.
Transparent. It will be...
Transplanting.
You're not getting anywhere with this, are you?
No.
Is this stopping anytime soon?
No.
Nah, didn't think so. We'll keep going.
There's so many trans.
So the Virgies are Baking's Night of Nights. I'd like to win one.
Transition.
I've been trying to win a Virgie for forever. I am literally the only person that has been nominated in a category of 1 and lost.
No, Robert's a male host and he did very well.
He was a guest host. Doesn't count. So I'm the only person ever to win a Virgie, and I'm really hopeful. I mean, your collection of Virgies looks lovely on the mantelpiece.
They are, yes, sparkling away.
Sparkling gold Virgies bottles.
I asked the cleaner to go give them a dust over it twice when she's here.
You really do. And you don't need to get her to, leave them on my side of the bed.
Why not?
You don't need to do that.
I just don't have any room on my side. They're taken up with Virgies as well. I have to just spread out.
I can see them wherever I am in the house. You know that, right?
Yes.
So basically...
So I have mirrors set up to reflect them through.
So basically...
Yes.
We've got a lot of stuff planned. We're laying the tracks a bit like Wallace and Gromit. As the show comes hurtling towards us at speed, I'm throwing tracks down in front of it. Kristie's there with the steam engine cap on, sort of tooting the horn, bringing the train through.
Yep.
And we are doing this for your amusement and your entertainment, hopefully. Now, you might listen to it and go, what the fuck are they on about, and never listen again, and that's your prerogative, but you're missing out on gold.
I mean, mostly we do this for our own amusement. And you guys, you just do us a bit of a a humility and join us for the ride, which is lovely.
As one of my favourite comedians, Tom Lehrer...
so humble if I weren't so humble.
As one of my favourite comedians, Tom Lehrer, once said, self-indulgence is better than no indulgence at all. So we will be doing... On every Thursday night, we will be doing the Great Australian Bake-Off.
We will.
We will then be following that up the night after with the Great Canadian Bake-Off.
It may be delayed a day, just depending on my schedule.
Depending on what we go with, but usually it'll be a day after that. So when you get 2 podcasts back-to-back, they'll be clearly labelled. So you won't get confused as to what the hell's going on when we start talking about Jay. And you're like, we can't see a Jay. Who is this person? Who's this Andrea Mermaid you're talking about? Yes. She's in Canadian. Don't panic. The second show will pop up will be Canadian. The first show that will pop up will be Australian. Yes. They will be very clearly labelled. You will not make a mistake. Although do listen to the Canadian one. It's good fun. And if you can manage to find it through the ether, go watch Canadian as well. Because once you get into a bit of Bake-Off, you'll find that it's a rabbit hole from which you never recover.
And there's ways to watch it as well. That also supports the...
Exactly. There are ways to watch it that do support the network as well. So we highly endeavour you to work out what those methods are, because we're not going to tell you that, but look them out. We do, however, hope that everyone tunes into Lifestyle tomorrow night on Foxtel. We do hope that you sit down and watch the Great Australian Bake-Off. We do hope that you then stick around with us to listen. The other thing I'll mention quickly before we go is on Twitter @TheWashingUp, and obviously if you found this, you probably know that. If you send us a tweet before the show goes on tomorrow, I will add you to the roll call.
Roll call.
I do the tweet roll call so that we're all in the same place and can all tweet together and have a really good time tweeting. If you want to be part of that, just send us a tweet and I will include you in the roll call before Bake-Off. So that's something you can do. It's good fun. And again, the community online is genuinely lovely.
You'll make friends for life.
You will make friends for life, and like we have.
And then question their other TV watching choices, but you'll make friends for life.
You'll look at all the hashtags they go and go, really?
And then you realise that you're hashtagging that too at one point. You're like, can't judge.
See, my
mum always said when you point the finger, there's 3 more pointing back at you. I'm like, well, technically there's 2 fingers pointing forward, but then your thumb's not a finger, so maybe she was right.
See, there's only one show that I ever judge people hashtagging, and unfortunately it's on Channel 7.
The Bolt Report?
No, Channel 7.
And what's that?
It's a food show on Channel 7. Yes. MKR is the only one I judge. But this is not about MKR. This is about something far more entertaining. Oh.
This woman at work who I have a high opinion of, luckily she's leaving.
Yeah.
She's a big Pete Evans fan.
Who is a Pete Evans fan apart from Pete Evans?
She told me that
I don't think Manu's a Pete Evans fan.
She likes activated nuts. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She's like, yeah, it gets rid of the enzyme. I said, well, technically aren't they deactivated?
Was that an innuendo? When she said she liked activated nuts, is that innuendo?
Oh, who knows?
It's the perfect thing to finish this podcast on. So until tomorrow night, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all then.
Squee!